Well, good morning. It's Sunday, September 17th. And we woke up this morning after a pretty good sleep, but woke up this morning. A lot of wind, fair amount of chop. So really kind of what woke me up and made me get out of bed this morning was the tail slap of the boat in the waves. Really want to make sure I hadn't, drifted ashore and had something bad going on, but everything is still okay, but it's dark out. Can't see anything out the windows yet. It's about 6 o'clock. It's raining pretty hard, steady anyway, and so we're thinking that it's going to get really kind of nasty as the morning goes on here. Around 8 o'clock we may have some big thunderstorms. So I'm really just kind of buying time until daylight. I don't want to try to get out of here in the dark. And so I'm going to make coffee and make some breakfast. And then we're going to put on our foulies and see if we can't get out of here. I imagine we'll be motoring. We may watch the radar, see if we can just ride out the worst part of the storm. Looks like about 8 o'clock at anchor, and then as soon as that passes, maybe we can pull the anchor and go. We'll just have to see how the weather progresses, and we're hoping we don't get the wind doesn't shift to the north. Right now it's still a westerly wind. So not horrible for trying to get out of here, I don't think. So we will keep you posted. French toast and bacon this morning, and some fresh coffee. That's the breakfast menu for today. Well, it's just starting to be daylight now. I've had breakfast. And I am just put on my foul weather gear. I'm gonna go out and start the engine and see if I can get the anchor up. The only real concern on a day like today is if it takes me a long time to get the anchor up after it breaks loose of the sand, do we drift backwards or with the wind? So I'm gonna have the engine on. We're gonna see how it goes. If I have to, I'll put it in idle forward gear, but I'm hoping the wind isn't really out of the north yet, although I think it's starting to clock around, which is why I'm trying to get out of here. We'll just have to play it by ear. As long as the boat doesn't blow backwards too fast, I should be able to get the anchor up and pinned, and then run back to the cockpit and motor out. So that's the plan. I'm gonna probably leave the camera inside. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully next time I check in with you, we're at the marina. So we don't slam the hull on these deep troughs. So I'll give that steel mill a bit of a wide berth. There's a big one. And then when we can go west, hopefully maybe we'll put up some of the jib. I don't know. Maybe we'll just motor. We're about 5 or 6 miles from the marina at this point, so good thing I moved close yesterday. I feel a little better this morning knowing we only have to go about 5 miles. If you remember, I put 5 gallons of fuel in the tank. That's probably a really good idea, or it would really be churned up in there. That'd be like a bad scenario. Get a bunch of gunk stirred up in the tank and clog the fuel filter or something. Never had a problem with it, but never fails. Today could be the day. I can't really see where I want to go. Maybe I can make it out a little bit. But we're just following the GPS and make our way slowly, keep an eye on the engine. Try not to slam the hull in some of the bigger waves. And if it felt right, we try to put up some of the jib, but right now the wind is almost directly off our nose, so I don't think that's going to happen. So we better baby the engine. Alright, well there was our anchors for the night. Oh, that's the one I try to avoid. And my keel fall off in one of those. Alright, well I'm going to put the camera down for a while and pay a little more attention to where I'm going. And we'll have more, if anything, major developments. Well, here we are on Tally Ho. Happy to say that we made it into the marina safe and sound. A little wet, but no worse off than that. It was an interesting sail for the weekend. You know, we had a lot of different kind of weather, from very light winds on Friday, some motoring. Eventually picked up some wind and was able to sail up to the Indiana Dunes. Friday night was pretty uneventful, really. A little bit of chop early after we anchored, but it died down in the night. Saturday morning was a very light wind day. We sailed off the anchor, but after a while had to turn the engine on for a little bit, and then eventually tried flying the spinnaker for the first time on this trip. Very light winds, made a little bit of progress with it. Ended up tacking up around Michigan City, and then kept the spinnaker up for a couple hours while we sailed kind of northeast or northwest. I'm sorry. Winds were just not at quite the right angle for where I wanted to go, but we flew the spinnaker for quite a while. Then we had a 2-hour motor to get to the beach where I wanted to spend the night on Saturday night. It had gotten quite cloudy and overcast, and little drizzle in the air, but we were able to grill out, and the winds were kind of out of the west overnight for the most part, which wasn't bad. I slept pretty good till about 5 o'clock this morning, and then could hear the wind blowing through the rigging. The stern of the boat was slapped in the water. I couldn't quite figure out why, if I was bow into the waves, why I was getting so much slap. So at 5 o'clock I finally got up just to make sure I wasn't off the anchor, drifting on the beach. I forgot to mention Saturday, as I was putting the boat on at the beach, I actually got in shallow enough water to touch the keel on the sand. I felt it immediately, and it was reading 3.5 feet, which boat draws 4.25. Of course, I don't know how much the offset is, probably a foot. Anyway, I was on a sandbar or something there, and I was able to very gently motor right over it, and I get into deeper water. So my fear was that in the night, I might, if the anchor dragged, I might end up on a sandbar or something. So I got up at 5. It was pitch black out. It was just starting to rain a little bit, and the wind was blowing pretty hard from west, northwest, but I believed it was going to clock around to the north, which would have meant some big waves. There's a small craft advisory for today or tonight. North winds and big waves. So I decided the best thing to do was make breakfast, and as soon as it was light, get the heck out of Dodge. So I made a nice breakfast, French toast and bacon and coffee, and waited around till daylight. Got my foul weather gear on. I went out and started the engine to have it ready, and I went up on the bow and started pulling on my anchor rod. I only had about 30 feet out, maybe not even 30 feet. And the big concern was, once I got the anchor out of the sand, and while I was getting it the last 10 feet up, that the boat didn't drift backwards onto the beach. The wind was kind of pushing us towards the beach. So as soon as I got the anchor up and very quickly got it pulled up to the anchor roller, I just wrapped the chain around a cleat rather than try to mess around with the pin, just to hold it there. Then I ran back to the cockpit, got us moving forward away from the beach. And once I had made a little bit of progress away from the sand, and I left the autopilot on, I went up to the bow, finished pinning the anchor and getting the rod and chain stowed away, and then we were good to go. There were some really big waves out there, and I was trying hard not to slam the hull in, on some of those big ones. Tally-ho did fine. Thankfully, the little Yanmar 2GM20 just kept on purring along and pushed us at about 5 knots through that nasty stuff, and we made our way out. I'm going to close it anyway.